Welcome everybody, my name is Paul. I'm a country realtor and I practice in the state of Virginia in a beautiful Shenandoah Valley near Lexington. And I talk a lot about different aspects of buying and selling real estate in Virginia. And my specialty is real property, and I love homesteading, and I offer a lot of content that is encouraging people to settle and enjoy the homesteading type of life. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about selling your property. A lot of people don't know the process of how to sell a home, and the appearance of your property when people look at it online and pictures is going to make a huge difference in how much you eventually get and how much traffic people come in and look at your property. And so what I'm going to try to do is tell you a little bit about how to prepare your property and help your realtor so you can get a lot of extra money on your site. For example, let's say your house is a ballpark $150,000 house. That's a kind of a lower end house right about now. But let's say it's around that price. And if you and your friends could spend a couple of weekends, is making the yard look really great and thinning out some of the stuff in the house and all that and make it look really nice, you might end up making a few extra $1,000, $4,000 or $5,000 just for a couple of weekends of works if you just present it right. And in some cases, if you don't present it right, you won't even get a sale at all, or it'll be very much delayed, or the price is going to go very down. So I'm going to talk a little bit about different aspects of preparing. One of the things that I talk a lot about, of course, is pretty obvious, is declutter. We all love our homes, and you come in our home, and after some years, you accumulate a lot of things, and you look around your home, and everything is just beautiful, and you like it the way it is. And in many cases, there's a lot of stuff in your house, and I've been in some homes that have been occupied for like 30, 40, 50 years, and you go, wow, there's every single corner and nook and cranny. It's got something in it. And if someone wants to buy the house someday, they're going to want to think, where am I going to put my stuff? They don't want to see your stuff there. They want to see their stuff there. So it's kind of an emotional transition when people move, because they got to take all those things off the wall, the pictures and everything, and their favorite things, and put them packing up in the boxes, and come to the realization that the people that are going to buy their home don't even want to look at them, even though they might have been a favorite for you. So clean up the clutter a little bit. One of the things you can do if you're living in a home still, just look around the house and see what really doesn't need to be there. Any kind of clutter that you can remove, extra pieces of furniture. Sometimes all it takes is you move one piece of furniture out of a room. For example, let me give you an example of one of those really big lean-back armchairs with the whole 9 yards, the thing that flips out, and big arms and everything, and they can occupy quite a bit of space in the living room. And the new owner might not like that, and they might think, well, they see that big thing in your living room, and they go, man, that's like taking up a lot of space, and instinctively you think, well, this is a small living room because it's got that big, huge thing there. You see? So when you take things out of your house and get them decluttered, your house seems to be a little bit bigger, and generally it's just a lot easier flow for people to come in and look around if there's just less stuff in there, and especially remove personal things that you don't want. There are people who take pictures now. They come to a home and say, honey, I'm going to take pictures of the property and I'll send it to you and everything. And so things that may be personal in your home, put them out of the way so that's not a big issue. Pictures of your kids maybe and so on. And that's one of the things, the clutter. So I'll talk a little bit more about staging. In higher end real estate sales, one of the things that they do is say if they have to sell $1 million home, the $1 million buyer is going to be in there, and he's going to be very particular, he or she, whatever, is going to be very particular about, they're going to spend $1 million to buy the house. It better look awful nice, because that's a lot of money. So they have professional staging companies sometimes that comes in, and they'll like pick the drapes and everything, and they'll do a real professional job. They might even spend a few $1,000s just setting the thing up, you see, because when people come in and say, man, they went, oh, that's my home, man, I can feel it right there. This just feels great. See, so staging it involves good lighting, the right kind of objects, thinning it out a little bit. I'll tell you, plants can really help. Everybody likes plants. You see a nice plant in the corner, especially if it's flowering, a nice palm tree or something like that, something that occupies a corner and people look around, ah, that's nice. It's near the window maybe. So plants, flowers, great. Scent is a really big issue for some people. Some people they just, boy, they can smell everything. And if they walk in the house and they smell mice or whatever, they're going to turn around and walk out. So one thing that people do is they put like maybe a little bit of bowl of vanilla out there, or a little bit of heated water and put a little vanilla in there. There's many different techniques, a little bit of incense. There's different things you can do, but just don't go overboard on the smells, because really just fresh air. If you have the opportunity, if it's the right season, open the windows. Just let all kinds of fresh air come in and just circulate through the whole thing. I'm a really fan of Feng Shui, the old design and movement and decorations and color and all that and orientation. So that's a whole other subject, and I made a little video about it. But the whole idea is to present the space that someone's going to live in. It's going to be their sacred space. They're going to raise their children in it, perhaps, or they're going to retire in it. They're going to just live happily, whatever. And they want it to be really, really good, especially if they're going to spend a lot of money on it. So you can do a lot on your hand to make the property look extremely attractive and just feel like the nice flow. And sometimes, for example, picking the door that people enter. I lived in a house for a while when the front door was like, okay, you know, it's functional. And it had a little porch and everything. But the back door had a beautiful deck, and it was facing the sun. There's a willow tree there, and you enter through the back, like, whoa, that's really, who has a deck like that? You see, so sometimes choosing which entry you specify for the realtor can choose that. I'm in a property right now where the back deck is much more attractive to enter than the front door. And for privacy's sake, sometimes the neighborhood or whatever, it's just that kind of situation where you might want to put the lockbox in the back and have them come in that way, because also foot traffic. See, when people come in, if there's some space outside, if there's a way to get into the foyer, they can take off their shoes or stomp their feet and get the mud off. But generally, when you have people coming in and out of the property, you want to, you know, you'll get a little bit of traffic and perhaps a little bit of dirt. So allow for that. Let me take my little look at my notes here. Lighting is really important. Natural light and sunshine is a beautiful, beautiful thing. If you have trying to show a house and you can open up those windows, especially if you have skylights, if you have nice drapes, if you have a beautiful view, just open those, make that lighting come into the house deeply. And in some cases you can't do that. So look at the kind of lights that are in the house. Put them on. Sometimes maybe having a little dim light. If that's the kind of atmosphere, maybe a den. You don't want it to be too dark when people come look at it, but have a little bit of light on there and so on. So a fireplace, if there is one, it's kind of a danger to keep one running all the time and a nuisance, but a gas fireplace can work really nice if there is one. And if you do have a fireplace, sometimes you can just light it and run it a little bit and make that nice little beautiful firewood smell and a little bit of the feeling, the warmth that comes from it, and it gives a sense of ambiance that is really helpful when you show your property. Make sure you take care of the outside, the curb appeal. When people drive up to see your house, there are a lot of people who look for a home and they'll see it online. They'll check the address and then they'll drive by. And if they don't like what they see in the yard, like if there's trash there, it wasn't picked up, then they're going to think, maybe I'll just not look at that house. A lot of assumptions, negative assumptions happen because of just appearances and so on and first impressions. So just try to tidy up as best you can. Staging is really important. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. But when if you're in the process of moving, there are certain things like big piece of furniture, like I mentioned, that maybe it's better to get out of the way, especially if you have really antique furniture, especially really old heirloom type things that you want to keep. You don't need to leave them in the house for show while you sell your property. It might be better to just put them in storage or something or move them to your new location if you have one. But don't leave a lot of valuables in the house. If you have a very high-priced piece of art or so on, it's nice to have it there up to a point, but just realize that even though it's safe there, I mean, people show the property, they're responsible realtors, and we show the property, and we're not going to take any art. But generally speaking, word gets around, and it's generally good to not leave valuables, super valuables around in the house that are obvious to people. Because who knows, people talk and whatever. So that's just another suggestion. The yard is really important because, like I said, the first appearance. But let's say the front yard is fine. The backyard is also important because people might be thinking, well, where's my child going to play? Where's the dog going to be? Where am I going to put my little garden space? Or where am I going to hang my clothesline if they have that sort of thing? And all those kind of things so people think about. So again, just strip it down and make it beautiful. Make the flow come in. If people walk in the door to see your house, and the realtor showing, say, hey, they're open the door, what are they going to see? Are they going to see a nice palm tree there, a little plant there, or some beautiful flowers or something? Are they going to have a nice smell coming in? Is the lighting going to be nice? Are the drapes set? If you have really drapes, don't leave them all shut so that it's all dark. Let the drapes come open and let the light flow in and so on. So those are some of the suggestions I make about making your property look really good for selling. Now, there's another aspect about selling is the document side. There are buyers who are really, really particular, and they want to know every little detail. And if you fixed a roof 20 years ago, they'd like to see a little receipt that says, I fixed my roof 20 years ago, and here's the receipt, you see. Now, a lot of people don't have that, but there are certain kinds of things in a house, such as work on a foundation, or any kind of addition, or decks, or any kind of a landscaping that was done, or any skylights involved, or any replaced the roof, or you replaced a hot water heater. If you have some kind of documentation for that and some receipt, and you say, look, I just spent $20,000 on a roof about 10 years ago, so you're good to go. Well, that's going to really impress a buyer because not only they feel comfortable that you're honest because you got a receipt, but they're going to feel like I got at least 10, 20, 30 years maybe before I got to replace that roof again. You see, and that makes a big difference to loan companies. So any kind of documentation that you have about your property regarding the expenses that you put into it, and maybe some nice pictures. People are fond, they want to move into their own home. So let's say if you have some beautiful pictures of the previous years, like when there was snow and they're looking in the summer and you have some beautiful pictures of it when it's all snow and everything, that's going to look beautiful for them because you're helping to sell the property by giving some information and some visuals and some kind of a delightful presence in the house that when people feel, there's so many people I've talked to, when they walked in the house that they finally bought, they go, they just knew it was theirs. They just kind of knew it. So keep in mind that you're making a transition, you're leaving, they may not like your stuff at all. They might really love it, but they may not like it at all. So just take that with a grain of salt. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter if they like what you have, but just let them have some room to think for themselves where they're going to put all their furniture and so on. Now, another thing about bathrooms and painting. I'm involved in a house right now, for example, that was built in 1975, and that house is really solid. It has a good roof on it and has all the mechanicals, has copper piping, which is very expensive now, the labor intensive as well. So it's a really solid thing, but it has some cosmetic issues. It's 35, 36 years old or whatever, and the roof is good, but the deck needs some work and the kitchen and so on. Now, when you buy a house, there are buyers who want everything perfect. They want to move in, and there's certain kind of loan companies and certain kinds of mortgage that they just want everything basically picture perfect and blah, 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 they don't want any problem. But there are a lot of people who buy a home that really would like to put a new kitchen in, and they want to put the kitchen in their way because there are people who buy a house in the bathroom, if they have a chance, as long as it's not terrible, if they can just dress it up and paint it and maybe put a new sink and fixtures in there, a few $1,000s, they got a brand new beautiful bathroom that'll last for years. That's all the style their own taste, you see. So it's okay if a house needs work, but just be honest about it and make it look as nice as possible. And when the seller, the agent is trying to sell for you, you just say, look, you tell the buyer, look, this is an older house and this is a perfect opportunity to completely renovate and paint the whole house beautifully with all the colors that you like and make the right bathroom set that you like and the right living kitchen set that you like, and then you make it yours. And a lot of people buy houses and they kind of expect to do something with their house because they're going to make it their own. They're going to adapt it and improve it and fix it. And it's a part of their own psyche. Like, I'm fixing it my house. I'm building my own equity. They like that. So you don't want to try to sell something that's just completely run down, but if it needs some cosmetics, don't worry about it, because that's very common. Unless it's a brand new house or is kept immaculate and only had one owner and they lived there perfectly and they never had kids or anything. So just, it's okay if your house needs a little work. And as far as painting, paint is a really cheap way to make a tremendous impression. If you have a dark beige wall, for example, or a dark colored wall, and it happens to be, it has window light coming in, and you buy a $30 can of paint and paint beautiful yellow in there, and then whenever the sun comes in that room, that's going to brighten up that room tremendously. So the color of the walls that are in the house just add a beautiful presence and a feeling, like a light sky blue, an eggshell blue. I see so many old homes, so many homes that are actually just beige. I've seen some really expensive homes, and you look around like, who thought of the decor here? It's just boring beige, 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 various colors of beige and brown. It's not very pretty at all. And if you are selling your house and you happen to have made some color and beauty in your home, let it be part of the selling process, because, for example, like the plants and so on, if you have some things in your house that are really, really attractive but don't take up a lot of space, and maybe even a little bit of a conversation piece, maybe a plant or something, an art piece or something, let it be there while it's showed, and just let it be a part of the commentary that people have. Like, oh man, I walked in the house and I just felt that beautiful yellow space around in the living room. It's all wonderful. And so think creatively about how you present your house, and think about the times that you bought yourself a house and what did you think when you looked at homes. I was involved in a house 3 years ago when I was married, and frankly, it was set on the market and nobody wanted it because it had wood paneling on the walls, and it was a charming old house, but it was very small. It was from the 1800s. It had the old beams in it, and we lived for 5 years tearing apart, opening up the house, and by the time it was done, it was just absolutely wonderful inside. It had skylights, and it had opened up, and there's lots of space, and we had a deck, and it was just lovely. But it took us 5 or 6 years. But we bought the house anyway, enthusiastically, because, sure, make it your own, make it beautiful. And I encourage people to do a little bit of soul searching and letting go when you're selling their house, and let go of certain things, let some things be there while you sell your property, to show people that it was lived in and cared for and everything and loved and everything, but then leave them, new people, to think about where they want to put their furniture and decorations and how they might want to paint the walls differently and so on. So I hope I've given some ample information to you about getting your house ready to sell, and frankly, a little bit of labor at the end selling your house really helps the sale go so much more faster, and it's just a gift to your buyer. Say, look, I took care of my house right up to the last minute, I made it beautiful, welcome here, and I'm leaving and I'm going to my new place, and you can have my new place. My place is yours. Well, thanks again for listening. I hope to see you in some of my other videos, and please like and share if you like the content. Thanks again.